Hi, hello. Today we are going to be talking about prayer. Now, prayer is not just words, it is trust in motion. In First Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 17, the Bible says that we should pray without ceasing. In Philippians chapter 4, verse 6, it says, be anxious for nothing, but in everything, by prayer and supplication, with thanksgiving, let your request be made known unto the Lord. Now, here is the heart of it all. Prayer does not remove every storm, but it steadies the one inside the storm. It does not always change the situation immediately, but it changes the spirit of the one facing it. So when we pray, we must choose faith over fear, discipline over panic, and also hope over despair.
Pressure cooker. The fight or flight response kicking in when there's actually, no tiger to fight.
Exactly. It feels like a storm, just a sudden, violent shift in the weather of your life. And when that happens, we all have our go-to moves.
Right.
Some of us doom scroll until our thumbs hurt. Some of us vent to a friend until they just stop answering. Some of us just, we freeze.
We do.
But today, we are doing a deep dive into a very specific, very ancient tool for handling that storm, but we're looking at it through a lens you might not expect.
We are looking at a piece of media from a creator called Mozart Woods Media. It's a short, surprisingly potent video simply titled Prayer.
Now, I want to pause right here because I can hear some of our listeners hovering over the skip button thinking, okay, I didn't sign up for a theology lecture.
And we get that.
I get that. But our mission today isn't to convert you or preach at you. We are analyzing this video as a piece of media that offers a psychological toolkit.
That's a really important distinction. Whether you're religious, spiritual, or completely secular, the mechanics this video describes, emotional regulation, shifting your locus of control, cognitive reframing, they're fascinating. This creator views prayer not just as a ritual, but as a tool for steadying the self in a chaotic environment.
Right. We're stripping away the dogma and looking at the mechanics. And we have a lot to get through. We're going to talk about a definition of trust that involves physics. We're going to discuss a very confusing, possibly accidental instruction about seasoning your words,
which is a whole discussion in itself.
And we're going to break down the difference between changing your reality and changing your reaction to reality. So let's jump in. The video starts with a definition that kind of stopped me in my tracks. The source says, prayer is not just words. It is trust in motion.
Trust in motion.
I have to be honest, my initial reaction was to push back on that a bit because trust to me feels like a feeling. It feels passive. If I trust that the chair will hold me, I just sit there. I'm not really doing anything. So what does trust in motion even mean? Is it just a poetic way of saying doing something?
Well, it's a valid critique if you view trust as a static state. But think about it in the context of the storm we just mentioned. When you are in a crisis, the natural human instinct is to seize control. You white-knuckle the steering wheel, you overanalyze, you panic.
Control freak setting. I know it well.
Right. So in that context, letting go is actually an action. It's a deliberate, sometimes difficult movement. The source is arguing that prayer isn't just reciting a script, which would be just words, but the active psychological transfer of a burden.
What transfer of a burden?
Think about it like a trust fall. You know that team building exercise everyone hates?
Oh, I do.
Standing on the edge and just falling backward is terrifying. Standing there saying, I trust you guys, is easy.
Right.
Actually tipping your center of gravity backward, that is trust in motion. It's kinetic. It involves real risk.
Okay, that makes more sense. So the video is suggesting that the act of prayer or meditation or surrendering a problem is that physical act of tipping backward.
Exactly. It's the mechanism by which you move the weight of the problem off your own shoulders. If you just say the words, but you're still stressing, still ruminating, still trying to micromanage the outcome, you haven't moved.
You're still holding the weight.
You're still holding the weight. Trust in motion means you've actually let go of the backpack.
Which is incredibly hard to do. I mean, psychologically, we are wired to hold on to the backpack because we think if we hold it, we control it.
100%. That's the paradox, isn't it?
Yeah.
We think worrying is work. We think if we worry hard enough, we'll solve the problem.
Yeah.
This source is suggesting that the real work, the motion, is the discipline of stopping the worry and handing it over.
Speaking of discipline and doing things correctly,
Yeah.
we have to address the elephant in the room regarding the source text.
I had a feeling you were going to bring this up.
I mean, I have to. The video references 1 Thessalonians 5.17. Now, I grew up hearing this verse. I've seen it on coffee mugs. It's famously pray without ceasing.
Without ceasing, right.
But our source video, Mozart Woods Media, says, and I double-checked the captions, we should pray with our seasoning.
With our seasoning.
I honestly laughed out loud. I paused the video and thought, is this a typo? Or does this guy really love paprika? It has to be an autocorrect fail, right?
Yeah. It is almost certainly a typo or a speech-to-text error.
Yeah.
The original text is definitely ceasing, meaning don't stop. Be consistent. But, part of what we do here is look for value even in the accidents.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually think this error creates a much more interesting concept than the original.
You're going to defend the typo.
I'm going to defend the metaphor of the typo.
Yeah.
Let's just treat it as if it were intentional for a second. If I tell you to speak with your seasoning, what does that suggest to you?
I mean, flavor, spice, uniqueness. If food isn't seasoned, it's bland, it's, generic.
Exactly. And one of the biggest barriers to effective mindfulness or prayer is that people feel they need to be formal. They put on a voice.
Right.
They recite things robotically. They strip all the emotion and personality out of it because they think they need to be reverent.
That's so true. We try to sound professional, like we're writing a cover letter to the universe.
Right. But if you pray with your seasoning, you are bringing your authentic self to the table. Your frustration, your specific language, your doubts, your humor. You're not serving up a bland, generic dish. You're cooking something that tastes like you.
I actually kind of love that because if
Yeah.
you're in a storm, if you're in a crisis,
Yeah.
being polite and formal feels fake. You want to scream. You want to cry. That's the seasoning.
It's a difference between a ritual and a relationship. A ritual is safe and repetitive. A relationship is messy and flavorful. So, yes, it's a typo. But spiritual paprika might actually be better advice than just don't stop talking.
I'm keeping spiritual paprika. That's going on a t-shirt. Okay, so let's move to the next part of the video, which gives us a sort of formula for handling anxiety. It quotes Philippians 4.6. Be anxious for nothing but in everything, by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your request be made known.
That is a dense sentence.
It is. It starts with, be anxious for nothing, which honestly sounds like terrible advice. It's like telling someone who is hyperventilating to just calm down.
Right.
It never works. It just feels dismissive.
Well, if that's where the sentence stopped, I would agree with you.
Yeah.
Don't worry is not a strategy. It's a command that's impossible to follow. But the text doesn't stop there. It offers a replacement behavior. It says essentially, don't just sit there spinning in anxiety, do this instead.
And the this is supplication with thanksgiving. Now, supplication just means asking, right? Like begging for help.
Yes, supplication is the request. I need this job. I need this diagnosis to be negative. I need money. But the key here, and this is where the science comes in, is that it couples the asking with thanksgiving, with gratitude.
Okay, so why is that combination so important? Why can't I just ask?
Because of how your brain processes threats. When you are anxious, your brain is in a deficit mindset. You are hyper-focused on what is wrong, what is missing, what might hurt you. This is the negativity bias. Your cortisol is spiking. If you just do supplication, if you just list your problems, you're actually reinforcing that neural pathway. You're just reading your laundry list of disasters.
So praying just about your problems can actually make you more anxious.
It can, yeah, if it's just a gripe session. But Thanksgiving forces a cognitive shift. You literally cannot feel authentic gratitude and fear at the exact same time. They use different parts of the brain. When you practice gratitude, you release dopamine and serotonin. You engage the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest mode.
So it's a biohack.
In a way, yes. The source is saying, present your request, so acknowledge the problem, but wrap it in gratitude, which is acknowledging what is right.
I am terrified about this meeting, but I am grateful I have a career.
Exactly. I am worried about my health, but I am grateful for this day. It creates a kind of chemical buffer that neutralizes the panic.
So it keeps you from spiraling. It anchors the problem in a broader reality where good things still exist.
Precisely. It prevents the storm from becoming your entire world.
And this leads us perfectly to the central insight of this deep dive. This is the part of the video that I think matters most, especially for the skeptics listening. The source says, prayer does not remove every storm, but it steadies the one inside the storm.
That is the line. That is the shift.
And it continues. It does not always change the situation immediately, but it changes the spirit of the one facing it.
This creates a massive distinction between what I call transactional prayer and transformational prayer.
Okay, break that down for us.
Transactional prayer is magic. It's I insert coin prayer, I get prize, problem goes away. That's how most of us want it to work.
Sure.
We want the storm to stop. We want the boss to quit. We want the car to fix itself.
And when it doesn't, we say, well, this doesn't work. I tried praying and the car is still broken.
Right. If your metric for success is, did the external world change to suit my comfort, you will be disappointed constantly. But this source is arguing for the transformational model. It admits, point blank, it does not remove every storm.
That's almost refreshing honesty.
It is. It's admitting that you don't control the weather. But it says it steadies the one inside the storm. It changes the spirit of the person. It shifts the focus from controlling the sea to controlling the boat.
Or even more specific, controlling the captain of the boat.
Yes. Think about a ship in a hurricane. You cannot scream at the wind to stop. It won't listen. But if the captain is running around the deck, screaming, pulling random levers, crying,
That ship is going down.
that ship is going down. Panic sinks ships.
Right.
But if the captain is steadied, if they are calm, clear-headed, focused on the protocol, the ship has a fighting chance. The storm hasn't changed, but the survival rate has skyrocketed because the internal state of the leader has changed.
So the video is saying that the purpose of this practice isn't to manipulate the universe, but to regulate your own nervous system so you can navigate the universe.
Exactly. And that is why this is applicable to everyone. We all want a steady hand on the wheel. And the video suggests that this steadiness doesn't just happen. You don't just wake up steady. You have to build it.
And that brings us to the how. The video ends with an action plan. It says we have to make 3 specific choices. And I want to dig into these because they aren't fluffy. They're actually kind of hard.
They are active choices.
The list is choose faith over fear, discipline over panic, and hope over despair.
Let's look at that middle one. Discipline over panic.
That one stuck out to me too. Usually you hear peace over panic or calm over panic, but discipline, that sounds rigid. It sounds like boot camp.
I think it's the most important word in the script.
Yeah.
Because calm is an emotion. And when you are in a crisis, you cannot force yourself to feel calm.
No.
If your adrenaline is pumping, you can't just flip a switch and feel zen.
Right. Telling me to be calm just makes me angry.
But discipline is an action. It's a protocol.
Yeah.
Think about a pilot facing an engine failure. They are probably terrified. They are not calm.
Not at all.
But they have a checklist. They have training. They choose discipline. They follow the steps.
So discipline over panic means having a plan and sticking to it, even if you're scared.
Yes. Panic is the default setting. Panic is easy. Panic is letting the lizard brain take over. Discipline is the higher brain saying, no, we are going to breathe. We are going to pray. We're going to take the next right step. It's a structure you hold on to when everything else is falling apart.
That is actually really empowering because I don't have to wait until I feel good to act. I just have to follow the discipline.
Exactly. You act your way into a new feeling. You don't wait for the feeling to show up first.
And then the final choice, hope over despair.
This is the long-term outlook. Despair says, this is permanent. This storm will never end. Hope is the cognitive choice to believe this is temporary. There's a shore on the other side.
It's seeing the horizon even when the waves are high.
And notice the pattern in all 3. Faith, discipline, hope. They are all overrides. You have to override the natural instinct to fear, panic, and despair. It requires effort. That goes right back to trust in motion. It's an active kinetic wrestling match with your own spirit.
It really reframes the whole idea of inner quiet. I think I always imagined inner quiet meant sitting by a still lake with a cup of tea. But this sounds like active stabilization. It sounds like a gyroscope working hard to keep the ship level.
That's a beautiful image. A gyroscope is spinning incredibly fast to maintain that stillness. Inner quiet isn't the absence of movement, it's the presence of balance. And according to Mozart Woods Media, that balance comes from this specific combination: authentic seasoning, gratitude to counter anxiety, and the discipline to choose trust over panic.
So let's wrap this up and bring it back to you, the listener. We've looked at this video, we've laughed at the typo, and we've dissected the psychology. But what does this actually look like on a Tuesday?
It looks like a pause.
A pod.
When the email comes in, when the crisis hits, the gap between the stimulus and your response. Panic wants to close that gap instantly. It wants you to react. The practice we discussed today, whether you call it prayer, mindfulness, or just taking a beat, is about widening that gap.
Taking a second to engage the discipline.
Right. And here's the question I want to leave with you. We established that this practice changes the person, not necessarily the problem.
Right. The storm might still be there.
So think about the specific problem you are facing right now, the one that made you nod your head when we started this deep dive. Now imagine a version of yourself that is steadied, a version of you that isn't operating out of panic, but out of discipline, a version of you that has handed the backpack over.
Okay, I'm picturing that version. They look a lot less tired.
How does that version of you handle this problem differently than the version of you that is currently freaking out?
That's the key, isn't it? The problem hasn't changed, but the solution is going to be completely different because the problem solver has upgraded.
Exactly. The panicked version of you might send an angry email that gets you fired. The steadied version of you might see a solution you missed because you were too busy staring at the waves.
You can't navigate if you're hyperventilating.
That's the bottom line. Steady the spirit, and you give yourself the best possible chance to weather the storm.
Well, there you have it. A deep dive into the mechanics of inner quiet. Whether you're praying with your seasoning or just trying to choose discipline over panic, we hope this gives you a few tools for your toolkit.
Absolutely. Thanks for listening.
Catch you in the next deep dive. Stay steady out there.